Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us here in Elim Church in Swanley. We have Brian Scully with us today. He's come all the way from Islington. We are going to be talking about Open Doors, the work that he's involved in. And so we're just going to have a gentle chat as we do over a cup of tea. And we're just going to ask Brian if he will just open the door, literally open the door of the persecuted church, the world of the persecuted church, and how relevant it is for as this pandemic that we're sitting in COVID-19. So we welcome Brian that's come all the way from Islington. Hello, Brian. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's really lovely to see you. Brian's been preaching at the church for probably a couple of years now, haven't you?
Yeah, I think we've been here about 3 or 4 times, yeah.
Yeah, our friend Sandra. Was it through Sandra we got your link?
I think so. I'm not too sure, actually.
Or on the world of the circuit of open door preachers.
I know I remember getting in contact with the church at some stage.
Yeah. But it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah.
Great sermon. Had some experience with the open doors. So, Brian, how relevant is the world of the persecuted church for where we are sitting today, COVID-19?
It's very relevant, I think. Obviously, everyone is suffering.
Yes.
During this COVID, I'm not going to say, it's only suffering Christians. But actually, the situation for them, in many cases, in many countries, has got a lot worse, basically because they don't have access to any food and support from the government authorities in countries that are, for instance, radically opposed to Christianity, such as the strict Islamic countries or India, for instance. Yeah. So they're at the end of the food chain and they're basically starving in many cases, no access to work, no access to any kind of support. And we get calls from believers in many countries asking for help, and we're trying to do the best we can, but of course we can only do so much.
You can only go so far, can't you? Yeah. Could you give us an introduction of how you got involved in the world of the persecuted church for Open Doors? What was your introduction to that? How did God move you into that?
Well, I'd like to say it was a Damascene experience, but it wasn't. It was quite silly, really. I had a Chinese Christian friend who was always on my case. I'd just been a believer, and she says, "We must go out and tell everyone about the Lord." I thought, "Are you crazy?" But anyway, she invited me to one of her Chinese fellowships one day, and
interesting.
And they had a guest speaker, and would you believe he was a rep for Open Doors, a speaker for Open Doors? And I heard about all this, about the suffering church and how Open Doors were traveling to these countries, smuggling in Bibles to secret believers. I thought, ooh, that sounds interesting.
That sounds...
And basically, I just thought, I'll have a go at that, basically not through...
It was that simple?
Yeah, not through any great love
then?
For the Lord or anything, just thought, that sounds a bit adventurous, so I went into it for all the wrong reasons, you could say, yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it, what you just said? I went into it for all the wrong reasons, but God has really used you powerfully.
Yeah, well, I think so, yeah.
It's really interesting listening to your sermons and how you bring scriptures into the world of the persecuted church and how you really open that door. Literally, I know it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? A bit of a one-liner, Open Doors, because that's who you're representing, Open Doors.
Yeah.
So you went into that ministry with completely just in a fleshly way, so to speak. It
was very fleshly. Obviously, I believed in God, and I didn't think it right that these people should be persecuted.
Yeah.
For instance, in places like Romania and Albania, which was very, very strict at the time, or Russia. And that's where our main focus was in those days, in the 80s, So I thought, I'll have a go. And, that's how I started and did my first Bible smuggling trip.
Oh, Bible smuggling,
in 1985. Yeah.
Really? That sounds very James Bond. Mission Impossible, Bible smuggling.
Yeah.
Whereabouts did you go, sorry?
To Romania.
And how did that feel?
I was totally... up for it, But then as we got nearer to the border, I thought, I don't know about this, And, but actually there was 3 of us, and we had a big caravan with Bibles.
Literally hidden in the caravan?
In the floor of the caravan, yeah.
Brian, that is James Bond.
Well...
That is so you towed the caravan all the way...
With a Volvo car.
With a Volvo car?
Volvo car, yeah. Yeah.
And do you remember how many Bibles you got into the caravan?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't thousands, I think hundreds, about 200-300, something like that.
So what would have happened if you had got caught? What was the implications to smuggling Bibles into that land?
Yeah, well, I think if you got caught, you could get a prison sentence. David Hathaway, have you heard of him? He got caught, and I think he got 11 years or something.
Is that what David got?
Yeah, but I think Harold Wilson, the Prime Minister, managed to do a deal and get him out after a few years, yeah.
So you would have faced imprisonment without any shadow of a doubt?
Depends how they felt about it. Sometimes, in several cases, I think they just imposed a large fine or slung you out. And it depends on the country. For instance, Albania, it was just a no-go area. We did go in there, but not to take Bibles because, I don't know if you remember, is it Rihanna Jolly, I think her name is. She's called now, but Peterson, I think she was called then.
I'm not quite sure.
But anyway, she got caught distributing literature, and they arrested her. And she wrote a booklet called "Tomorrow You Die." They were going to execute her, but she actually, in the end, managed to get out because the British government
intervened,
gave them a big bribe, basically.
Wow.
So there were dangers attached, but then not as much as the dangers of the Christians themselves in some of those countries. They would literally pay with their lives, or long prison sentences.
Is that the only journey that you've done?
No, I've done quite a few.
What else, Brian? What else have you been involved in? If you don't mind
a couple of
me
years. Yeah, no, it's no secret now. A couple of years later, we went to Albania. I went there twice, which was a country that was then considered the worst, the North Korea of its day.
Worse than North Korea at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, the guy who'd actually come to power, called Enver Hoxha, had slaughtered all the opposition and all Christians,
Slaughtered?
Basically killed, virtually annihilated pastors and put them into underground mines to work and stuff like that, and...
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific. Albania had a very bad reputation, And everyone thought that, again, the church ceased to exist in Albania, but how wrong they were. And when we went there, we found secret believers and we fellowshiped with them, yeah.
And what is the situation in that nation today with the church? How...
Well, it's got a vibrant church now. It has its problems. And remember, Albania was basically a majority Muslim country, but a third were Christians. So basically, there's no problem with, freedom of worship anymore. And I don't think, as far as I know, there's any problem between the Muslims and the Christians. And the church, I believe, is growing, yeah.
Okay, interesting stuff. So you've had a couple of trips getting Bibles in. Where else have you been?
Oh, I've been to Iraq. We went there.
Iraq?
And North Korea.
So you've been to North Korea?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Oh, now that's a few years now, but we went there before. You can go there now as a tourist because they need dollars,
Yeah.
They all want dollars. But I went in 2012, I believe, 11. Yeah, about
that sort of time you went out there.
Yeah. But it was very strict. You had minders, all the rest of it. But we still managed to,
smuggle.
Yeah. No, we didn't smuggle
you didn't
there.
Smuggle anything.
We were there just to observe and to see. We did things like meet in a park to pray openly, because when we got in, we took our crosses out, and the minders said, "What are those?" And we said, "Well, we're Christians. You have Christians, don't you?" And of course, they can't deny that because they want to make out that Christianity, they have freedom, but they don't. Yeah.
Okay.
So they didn't say anything after that, but we were watched with these minders. But then people would see the crosses, and their eyes would light up, and they'd point to where the cross was, and then they'll nod and say, "Me too."
Me too. Did you feel threatened in any way?
Not really, because the strange thing is, if you did something silly, you would be in deep water. And do you remember that American man a couple of years ago? They basically arrested him because he took down a photograph or something of the leader.
Oh yes, I do.
And he was basically tortured and killed, and then really hurt, and then sent back to America where he died.
Of his injuries. So have you ever on the missions that you've been out, have you ever felt that you have been threatened? Is there any place that you went to that you felt very uncomfortable?
Yeah, well, I was arrested in Romania eventually.
Brian, hang on a moment. This is good info. What was this? What happened?
It wasn't with Open Doors. It was I wanted to take aid, and we didn't really take aid. So I worked for I went with a charity called Romania Aid.
Okay.
And we took in lots of things like penicillin and all the rest of it, but also a few Bibles, hidden here and there. But,
as you do.
Yeah, and basically I noticed very early on that we were being followed, and so I told my travelling companion, look, we've been followed, and we can't go anywhere near the believers because we
keep away from the believers.
We'd give them away,
Yes.
But I've managed to get rid of the stuff mostly. But anyway, we were followed for 4 days, and they did all sorts of tricks to make us, break the law. They'd send us people asking to change money, which is totally illegal, but you get a lot more, for your dollar on the black market. But of course we didn't. They even sent us a couple of girls at the in the hotel when we had a small swimming pool, and trying to say, hi guys, how are you, and all this kind of nonsense. And then also a couple of hippies, would you believe, playing the guitar and saying, so where are you hanging out?
No, really?
It was also ridiculous.
So bizarre things.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. Yeah, but eventually we went back to a pastor's house because I thought...
you lost them?
Well, no, we didn't lose them, but I found it funny that it was after his house. We'd first of all gone to his house when we entered.
Oh, I see.
And it was from that time we were followed. So he kept asking me, where are you going? What are the names of the people you were going to visit? So I thought this was really funny.
Yeah. That was from the pastor?
Yeah. No, I later found out he had one very sick child who was getting treatment, and that's very unusual. So he's probably compromised himself.
He's compromising.
They've saved his child, so he has to report on Westerners, which is not too bad because he knows that Westerners would be treated a lot more leniently. We'd probably get kicked out of the country or maybe a short sentence. A short sentence. Yeah. So I said to him, I asked him, his name was Victor. I said, well, Victor, what's going on? Why? And he was talking very loudly. I said, why are you speaking so loudly? And then he said, oh, no problem, my friend. Then I said, we've got to be going. And he took us to the door into his little front garden, and they were all there.
Was it frightening?
The police. And he said, now you have a problem.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And so how did that make you feel? Terrified, a bit fearful?
Well, I just... I felt a bit sad, actually. I thought, because I knew he...
Yes, a believer.
But I realised later that they're under so much pressure, and maybe this was the only thing that would have saved his child, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, sure. What was your story? What happened after that?
Well, they said, we want to name the same thing. We want the names of all the people you were going to go.
Okay.
I couldn't give them even if I wanted to, because they were these long Romanian names like Popacescu Bascu or something like that.
Okay.
And the addresses were even worse. So, and basically I'd eaten them all. So they they said, we know you are subversives.
Oh,
I said, no, we're tourists. They said, no, you are not tourists, you are subversive. What is the subversive anyway? But anyway,
what is that?
They and my friend actually cracked them up because he was a complete nut, and he came basically because he wanted to see the stars, and you do see the stars.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
In Romania in the night.
Yeah.
And at one point they said, you have literature with you, meaning Bibles.
Yeah.
And so my friend went, oh yeah. He said, you have literature. Show us. And he took out this book on the stars.
Oh, he took out a book on the stars.
And the guy said, what is this? He said, oh, that's Cassiopeia, and that's the plough. And he said, I don't want this. And the whole thing was farcical. And in the end, you're not going to believe this. Well, maybe you will. But I was getting a bit peeved with all of this. And
certainly.
And I don't know what... Must be the Lord.
Must have been the Lord guiding you.
Margaret Thatcher was supporting Romania because they were against Russia, even though they're both communist, And so I said, I don't think Mrs. Thatcher's going to be happy about this, of the way you're treating us. And he went, Mrs. Thatcher knows about this? And a kind of light went on my head. Oh, yeah. I said, yeah, she knows everything, you know.
Wow. So you played on her.
They went outside, and I could hear them arguing with each other.
Right.
And then later on, this other guy came in. He's obviously the big boss or something. And he says, right, we're going to let you go.
Wow.
But I want you to sign this paper that we treat you very nicely.
Oh, so it said that they treated you very nicely. Yeah, everything was okay.
And you must promise not to talk about this in the Times of London.
Really? Oh, my goodness. And you thought, Lord, get me out of here.
I knew then we were going.
You were safe.
Yeah, but the strange thing was when we went to the board, they said, go and change all your money. We don't want, and their money's worthless anyway. So.
Okay.
But anyway, I had about $1,000 that I was going to give to a church. And as I was going there, I saw this van coming, and it was an Open Doors van,
Wow.
So obviously he was going to... And I realised that his first contact would probably be the guy that probably gave us all away. So as I walked past him, I said, don't go near Victor. Don't go near Victor. And he came into the exchange place for money after me, and I'd put my $1,000 into a kind of touristy thing. Yeah. And shoved it behind me, and he picked it up and put it in his pocket.
Wow.
And I later found out it went to a church not far from the one... Baptist church.
You had intended it to go to. So it landed in the right place.
Yeah, funny how the Lord works, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So their need was greater, I assume.
And then they kicked us out.
And then they kicked you out.
But this, the funny thing, before we went, they searched the car again. Looking for more Bibles, I suppose. I don't know. But he found a hammer. Just had a clock. He said, what's this for? I said, no, it's a hammer. It's, sometimes I have a problem with the nuts on the car, and that's why I give it a bit of a hit. He said, I suppose you'd like to put this on my head, would you?
Wow. God, dear.
I said, no,
not at all.
We love all Romanians.
We love everybody.
Yeah, and then they kicked us out, yeah.
So that was an experience.
Yeah, and actually they left us the car, because it was amazing, because I'd heard that a German couple had been caught a couple of weeks before, and they had one of these big live-in camper vans. Yeah, okay. And they confiscated it.
So you was able to drive out and to get back?
Drive out and got back.
And how long were you away for? How long were you away from the UK?
Well, the trips don't last that long. You're not going as a tourist, so you basically want to drive across Europe, get into the country, do your deliveries to 2 or 3 addresses, wherever you're going, and then get out. In the case of Romania Aid, I'm talking about, we had to try and find a Christian doctor or nurse that could oversee the medicines. We had 2 massive boxes of penicillin and other drugs. And don't forget, there's so much corruption out there.
So it had some value behind that.
Yeah, they'd sell it all on the black market, and it wouldn't go. I went to one of the orphanages. There was horrible before they were even discovered in the West. The horror, and I can vouch for the horror of those places. Yeah. So basically, it's kind of it's all changed there now, of course, but there's still a lot of poverty in Romania, and other countries.
Yeah. So you've had a few trips abroad.
Yeah. So
Israel. Anything happened to you in Israel?
Well, Israel is not to do with my Open Doors work, but I've always had a heart for Israel.
Yeah, I know.
And although we do work there, but mainly we try and have summer camps to bring Arabs and Jews together, and Christian youth as well. So we do things like that. But basically, my work there has been separate, and I've been going there for several years. Worked on a Christian kind of kibbutz there, and in Haifa.
How long were you there for?
I was about working on the kibbutz for about 5-6 weeks, and
good experience.
Yeah,
very eye-opening.
Yeah, they had a place called Beit Nichahon, the Victory House, where they had Arab and Jewish youths coming in, who were street kids who were on drugs or drink, and they try and get them together, and hopefully they end up becoming believers. In fact, when they first come in, these Arab and Christian lads, they'd gladly kill each other, but by the end they're all praising the Lord together. I had the joy of praying with a group, I think three Arabs and 3 Jews,
Gosh, what a group to pray for.
Praying together in the name of Yeshua on Mount Carmel.
Whoa. Really good.
Yeah. It was great. It was a blessing. Yeah.
So
Always remember that.
So your field of open doors, aid running, and you're just talking about kibbutz, and anything else that you've been involved in your time as a believer that's just encompassing quite a few things? We know you're a Bible smuggler.
Our last trip was with Maya. That's the first one she came on, my wife, and we went to Tunisia.
You went to Tunisia?
Yeah, not the worst place on earth, but still they don't like you taking Bibles in Arabic, you know.
Yeah.
But we sneaked it in our little car, 230 odd Bibles. And
That's a lot of Bibles.
yeah, and we nearly got caught again at the border, but we got through with the Lord's help.
You got through.
And the guy I delivered to, his name was Mohammed.
Really?
Yes, so I took Bibles to Mohammed.
You took Bibles to Mohammed.
And his church, they were all converts from Islam. You know, they were all ex-Muslims. So the church is growing in Tunisia as well. So.
Wow, and how long ago was that?
A couple of years.
18.
Yeah. 2018.
2018?
Yeah.
So not very long ago then?
No, just drove all the way from London. And the Bibles got delivered to our door in Islington from Holland. You know,
Yes.
2 massive big boxes, which we took out the back seat and made false seats out of Bibles.
Bible smuggling in 2018.
yeah, it still goes on.
Do you think that the world of technology, where we can quickly grab an app on a phone, has that cut the Bible smuggling down a lot?
Yeah, we don't do as many as we used to, obviously. But it's always good to have the solid word of God in
most definitely.
in your hand. You know,
Yeah.
I sometimes go to churches and the pastor or is like on his computer on the pulpit. And it's okay, you know, but I don't know.
It gets by, but there's something special about the paperback, the real folding paper, isn't there?
The word of God,
Yeah.
And I wonder if Jesus, well, I'm sure he did see the future where his word would be on a computer.
on an app somewhere.
Yeah.
So have you got any trips planned? I know we're in COVID-19. I know we've got a lot of things going on.
We haven't actually, and I'm getting a bit old in the tooth now because insurance wise, and that gets more expensive now.
Yeah.
So I'll have to do my own trips. Like my Bible smuggling trip to Tunisia was organised by Open Doors Holland, not Open Doors England. So
Oh, right, okay.
I didn't come under the English office.
You didn't come under the English office?
Yeah. So,
Interesting. So that's in 2018. There was Bible smuggling going on from all the way from Islington all the way across. And how long was that trip? How long did it take you to drive over there?
Oh, I don't know, about 2.5, 3 days
3 days to Marseille.
to Marseille. 3
3
days
days.
to Marseille.
Interesting trip.
22 hours across.
22 hours across.
Yeah, you're going across the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And then
So-
we had a week holiday after we.
And you had a week's holiday as well.
after we
in France, based well, in Tunisia and France.
Okay, so you got the smuggling done. You got
Yeah.
all the smuggling done,
Yeah.
and then you relaxed in France
Yeah, on the beach.
on the beach. Fantastic. So sounds like you've had quite an unusual mission field of a journey with the Lord. Is there anywhere else you've been and anything else you've been involved in that has opened the doors up? I don't like to keep saying open doors because we're talking about open doors, but any unusual trips that you've had anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, Egypt was great because I was allowed to preach there because they have a large Christian.
Oh, okay. So you preached in Egypt?
Yeah. A town called Elmira along the Nile. So it was a Christian church, but again, there's a huge problem there for Christians that continually being attacked by the Muslim Brotherhood, and so they do suffer persecution. Also, they don't get the aid from the government that Muslims would get. And in this COVID, there's a big problem. Also, we help to support, working with partners on the ground, Christian schools, which they wouldn't have access to education otherwise. And also a lot of Egyptians. For instance, in Cairo, there's a place called Rubbish, Dustbin City. Basically about 20,000 Christians live there. They literally live off the rubbish. It's just piles and piles of rubbish piled high.
Do they really?
Yeah, they recycle it all and make things and all the rest of it. Yeah.
So their daily life is sitting upon the rubbish, and they make
but
stuff from the rubbish to live and to survive.
it's basically
and they're believers.
They're believers, but basically it's got two of the most amazing churches in the midst of all of this. They've got one called the Cave Church and one called the Rock Church. And these places are packed. Absolutely packed. And I was talking to the pastor of the Cave Church, literally carved out in the mountain. And I said to him, how many people do you get in here every day, every week? He said, well, on any specific day? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, take a Thursday. We get about 7,000 people. I said, what?
6,000 or 7,000 people?
Yeah. I said, are you serious? He says, no. I said, oh. He says, and 20% are Muslims.
What?
I said, well, that's what I said. What? He said, yeah. He says, well, it's a healing meeting. He says, and even Muslims know only Jesus heals.
That's amazing.
I know.
Gosh,
So
and you said it was called the Cave Church because it was carved it was in a cave.
It's literally carved out the mountain, and it's had a whole series of miracles down the years since the Ottomans took over control from
Did you
Egypt.
go into that church?
Oh, yeah. And the Rock Church is amazing.
Okay, so what's the Cave Church like inside? Obviously, it's just a cave.
It's massive, but it goes back, obviously. It's carved out in the mountain, and apparently there's all sorts of miracles being associated with it from down the years. Apparently one Muslim ruler, I think in the 16th, 17th, decided to get rid of all the Christian churches. And he said, we're going to demolish this church, the Cave Church. And the bishop or something pleaded with him and said, well, okay, if God provides a miracle, will you change your mind? He said, all right, then show me God's with you, move the church. And apparently there was some kind of earthquake and the whole kind of place shifted and the church went back and he had to keep his word. And
to keep his word.
That's the story I got.
That's the story of the Cave Church.
Yeah, but if you ever go to Egypt and go to Cairo, go to the Cave Church and go to the Rock Church, you will be absolutely amazed. And Christians under severe persecution in Egypt, but, and this is a big but, the church is growing, and it's actually growing even amongst the Muslims. But of course, a lot of Muslims will have to keep their faith secret. I was that town I preached in.
Yep.
My interpreter, his name was Joseph. Great name for an Egyptian Christian, right? So we're walking along the Nile. Sounds very romantic.
Very romantic. Walking along the Nile.
And I, just to get to know each other, because he had to speak for me when I was speaking. So he said, oh, Brian, by the way, he said, there's about 10,000 secret believers in this town. I said, what? What do you mean secret believers? He said, well, actually, they're supposed to be Muslims, but actually they are Christians. I said, oh. I said, well, where do they go to worship? He says, they go to the mosque. I said, what?
What? Hang on a minute. What?
He said, no. He says, I'm not kidding. I said, well, what do they do in the mosque? He says, well, when they all go like this, and he did the Muslims bowing down.
Done the bow.
Bowing and kissing the ground and saying Allah.
Yeah.
He said, well, the Christians are bowing and kissing the ground and saying, Jesus.
Wow.
10,000. I said, are you kidding me?
Secret believers in Christ.
So I said, is this true? He says, yes. I said, well, why don't they just go to a Christian church? No. They are Muslims. If they go to a Christian church, they would be killed. And he drew his finger.
He drew his finger across his neck.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting.
But they also belong to little house churches, so all those people.
So like the early church, those gathering small pockets.
They will have little pockets of 3 or 4, maybe up to 10 people meeting just for dinner. So if anyone comes in, we're having dinner, and they in turn would be in touch with 1 or 2 other house churches. No more, just to protect themselves, so that if anything was uncovered, there'd just be a few people caught, sort of thing.
Gosh, and what about the Rock Church? What can you tell us about the Rock Church, Brian?
Well, the Rock Church was born out of the Cave Church because it got so big.
Yeah.
I told you, 6.
Yes.
And so the standing room only. So they decided to build this other one, And it's, in a sense, it's a bit like the Cave Church. It's carved out of a recess and stuff, but it's absolutely beautiful inside. And again, both churches are packed. So if you ever go to Egypt, go to Cairo and go to the Cave Church and the Rock Church, you will not be disappointed.
That's amazing story as well, Brian. There's so much to talk about. So on the world of the persecuted church that we're just briefly chatting about, and where you've been all over the world, what is a persecuted Christian? It's very simple. What is the quickest and the easiest way to describe it? People coming into the Christianity and say, well, what is a persecuted Christian?
Well, of course, I'd like to give you a simple answer. But actually there is a simple, anyone that stands up for Jesus. I say to people, if you truly follow Jesus, you will be persecuted, even in this country.
Even in the UK.
Even in the UK. If you don't believe me, when you go Monday morning, when you go to the supermarket or talk to your neighbours, start talking to them about Jesus, see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
And you'll soon find out.
We're hearing stories even over here about pastors being arrested for hate
Street
speech.
preaching and
nurses sacked for praying
wearing
with
a cross,
patients.
you're praying with patients. So we are persecuted in the UK, aren't we?
Not to
very
extent,
softly,
but
softly.
it could grow. It could grow.
Could you see it growing at all? Could you see
I can
that
do because
progressing?
Jesus. If you read the 24th chapter of Matthew, he talks about how things will get worse and worse and worse and worse.
In the end days.
He actually says there will be a time that has never been heard of since.
Yes.
It happened since. Flee to the mountains. Now, I believe he's warning Christians. People say we're all going to be raptured out of here before that happens. I actually find that a bit odd because who's Jesus warning then?
Yeah, who's he speaking to?
Who's he warning to flee to the mountains?
Who's the audience?
And also, Revelations talks about the persecution will take, and then the two lampstands will be killed. The two parts of Christianity that stand out against the Antichrist system that the world's now under. So, I do believe we need to be. I say, okay, you believe in the rapture, fine. I don't want to argue. Christians shouldn't get an argument
into that
over
sort of
it.
debate.
But I say, but listen, I think it's better to prepare for the tribulation.
Yes.
And if you get the rapture, that's a bonus.
That's
right?
a bonus.
So you prepare for the rapture and you get the tribulation, you're in deep doo-doo.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you'll say, oh, this is not supposed to happen. Why did this God
What's
do
gone
it?
on?
Oh, yeah, what's going on? And that is exactly what happened to the Christian church in China in the early 20th century. A rapture theology was very prevalent. And then the tribulation came under Mao Zedong, literally slaughtered Christians in millions, and they don't make that mistake again. I defy you to go to China and find many churches preaching the rapture. You won't find it because they know what tribulation is,
Okay. So with the church in the UK, when we look at the ministry of open doors and everything that goes on in that and different and the world of persecuted church, is the UK church more open to receiving literature? Is it talking more about the world of the persecuted church? Because if you go back a number of years, not too far, it was a word that you never really heard so much of. Is that because we are comfortable, we don't like to be hearing things, and as soon as you start talking about persecution, you think that you're talking about blood and arms coming off and decapitation and all that, when actually persecution is just being persecuted for very likely for what you just said in the UK.
Yeah.
So we are persecuted in the UK, but obviously not with no limbs and in that side of, and not being shot.
Well, that was happening under ISIS.
But that was happening under ISIS, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
But actually, on the turf in which we live in the UK, I see that the church in the UK does step back from the world of the persecuted church because it's got itself in a comfortable cotton wool church, where it just very inward focusing. Are you seeing a change in that?
Well, persecution has been going on for a long time. You remember Richard Wurmbrand years ago. Now, let me give you two examples of why it's very difficult to hear anything about it in the media. I don't know why they won't speak about it. I'll give you two glaring examples. We're always hearing about North Korea and this guy and his bomb, right?
Yeah.
And his meeting with Donald Trump and et cetera, et cetera. What they don't tell you is in North Korea, 70,000 Christians, we estimate, have been incarcerated in camps for their faith.
70,000?
70,000. And you can Google these camps. They're literally death camps. And in North Korea, there's a facade of religion. It's got one church where they take tourists to say, oh, look, we got religion, but it's a farce, right? But basically, a North Korean, if you're caught with a Bible or you're given away by your neighbours, you will go away to one of these death camps. Not just you, your whole family. Your whole family and extended family, cousins and so on, because they consider it a virus. Only the leader and his family allowed to be worshipped. He's basically worshipped as a god. Everywhere we went in North Korea, every little town had a big elevated area, hill, either man-made or natural, with a statue of the original dictator of North Korea, or maybe his sons. And everyone has to go and bow down and lay flowers and all the rest of it. Of course, we refused. We said, we're Christians, we only bow to our Lord, you know. They had to accept that because we were their guests. But not a word in the press about this.
Not one word.
The Christian press, you know, like Heart magazine or something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But not a word in the mainstream press. That's one example. Okay, you remember when that horrible thing happened in New Zealand and that lunatic killed all those Muslims in 2 mosques?
I remember that.
Right. Well, worldwide condemnation, wasn't it?
It was.
Quite rightly.
Yeah.
Horrible thing. And the guy was a raving lunatic. But at the same time, 2 days before, 72 Christians were murdered by Boko Haram in a village in northern Nigeria.
But we didn't hear about that.
No, and also they raped a lot of the women in the village, right? Not a word. Some of the Christian groups told the media about it, not interested, wouldn't put it on the news. One MP, and I've actually got the article here, stood up in Parliament. Her name was Kate Huey.
Yeah.
Labour MP, old school
Labour MP, yes.
And she said, what's going on? Christians slaughtered in a Commonwealth country, not a word.
Not a clear word at all.
Parliament didn't even want to debate it. Doesn't that
strike? Says a lot, doesn't it?
Doesn't that strike you as something funny?
It very does. Very, very spiritual. The media doesn't push anything to do with Christianity at all, doesn't it?
No, and but we should not be surprised.
No, we shouldn't be,
Ben, because Jesus says, "If the world hates you, know that it hated me first."
That's right.
You will be persecuted. Not you might. You will be persecuted for my name's sake. So we should not be surprised. We just got to... Our job is not to go around moaning about it. Our job is to stand alongside our Christian brothers.
To pray for them. And how can we support them? We've got a table here in our little studio full of great information, open doors.
Yeah.
We've got the World Watch List 2020. We've got some information, stand with your persecuted family during COVID-19. We can obviously find all sorts of things online, can't we? Open Doors is online.
Absolutely.
Easy. We've got all the literature to hand. There's prayer points. There's financial pages we can read about. We've got a wealth of information, and this
a bit too much sometimes.
Sometimes we can have a bit too much, but we've got some maps as well around the world.
Well, we've got the World Watch List here, which tells you
that we're looking at
50 countries. There's more, but the top 50 countries
top 50
where persecution takes place.
A nice clear map that's very easy to read.
And of course, it gives you a persecution in order of the worst is number 1, which is North Korea. And so on and so on. Okay, but also, if you get the magazine, I would encourage people to get the physical magazine because, you know, you can just rely on emails, but it's good to read the articles.
It's good to have it in front of you, isn't it?
Yeah, and also it comes with a prayer letter, so every month you will...
Okay, so once a month we get this prayer letter.
Bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly, sorry.
You will get a prayer letter and it'll keep you, tell you where prayer is needed most. But also the magazine will cover different stories from different countries, India, some Muslim countries.
So we've got Iran, Asia, about persecuted women, North Africa, about communicating. This is a great lot of literature. If you guys could only see what we're looking at, there's so much literature about.
I would encourage you to order from the office a few magazines for every time it comes out, so you can have them at the door and people can pick them up and take them home with them. And so that's one thing you can do.
Okay, so I've got today's date. I've got Sunday the 9th of August, Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Praise God that 7,000 tribal believers were able to attend family training programs in 20...
That's some of our work,
That's some of your work, which include biblical training for the whole family. 7,000.
By the way, that was my last trip to Vietnam. I forgot to mention it.
Brian, come on, you forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So ask God to continue to use this program to enrich the lives of the Vietnamese believers.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that. So we have got. So as I'm looking at this in the month of August, we've got every day is listed with a simple prayer point that is very small,
Yeah.
but it's very impacting.
Yeah, and
So-
prayer is the key.
Prayer is the key.
Yeah. And can I
Prayer is the
tell you
key.
something about
Please do so.
amazing miracle in Vietnam over the last few years, because there's a mountain tribe of about 1 million or something people, I think. They live across the mountains, mainly towards the middle and north of Vietnam, and they have their own language and so on. And they, 400,000 out of a tribe of
Did you say 400,000?
out of a tribe of about 1 million across the
Okay.
have become believers.
Wow.
And guess where they
We're
got?
not hearing this on the news, are we?
No, and guess where they got? You'll hear it in the.
We hear it in where did they get the gospel?
You're not going to believe this, but basically from the Philippines, right? A group of a few believers in the Philippines felt led to learn the language of this mountain tribe and broadcast the gospel into the country.
Broadcast the gospel into the tribe's language.
Yes, on their little radios. They
On
picked
their
it
little
up.
radios.
And many came to Christ, and are still coming to Christ. I met some of these guys that came down from the mountains to see us when we were in, Ho Chi Minh City, which was formerly, and they came almost in rags to see us. They travelled 24 hours down just to see us,
Just to see
and
it.
related their stories. And I nearly started crying when they were telling me about their stories. They were beaten and their little huts and everything, cows killed, and they were chased out the village just for being believers, and other believers got hold of them and looked after them.
And
And
how many years ago is this?
This was last year.
So this was only last year.
Yeah, my last trip.
So your last trip. So
Yeah.
what we're saying is in the westernised world, where we're sitting in this room at this moment with all the trappings of materialism,
Yeah,
there is tribes. You're talking about came out of
in Vietnam.
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Came out, walked 24 hours in rags.
Well, three of these guys.
Three of these guys came
to
down
see us.
in rags.
Had no shoes.
They had no shoes,
Yeah,
and we are sitting here in the comfort of sofas.
yeah. I'm not saying they were starving.
No,
I
no,
think
no.
so,
But isn't
poor.
it interesting?
They were poor. Yeah.
The polar opposites to what we see, and they were converted from their tribal ways.
Yeah, which was
into-
basically ancestral worship and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, ancestral worship.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Brian, it's just like it's so much.
God is good.
God is
He
good.
is growing
He's
His
moving.
church. Jesus says, "I will grow my church."
That's correct.
And hell shall not prevail.
Hallelujah to that.
Do you believe Him?
Amen. I do believe him, Brian.
Maybe He's having a problem in England.
Do you know what? The more I hear these stories about what's going on in the world of the persecuted church for Open Doors, and we thank God for the ministry and all the guys and the girls that work and volunteers and in every shape and form, the Bible smugglers and what is happening. We thank God for those the missionaries, all those that are working for Christ. And I sit here in the comfort of my trappings. I need to be very careful as a Westernized believer. I don't get complacent.
Yeah.
When I hear these stories, it really pulls me up sharp, and I need to hear these stories to understand what people are suffering for being a believer for Christ. But we thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today.
Yeah.
We will have you a few weeks' time down the line. Thank you.
We'll
We've
be
had
up and running.
a
Can I
cup
just
of
say
tea.
one thing?
Please carry on.
I'll be amiss if I didn't push it, but start with prayer because it's the key to everything. But if the Lord leads you to help in some other way, please consider it, because the work is great, and we wouldn't be able to do this work, if it wasn't for churches like yourselves and believers like yourselves. I know we're all stretched financially, but if the Lord puts it on your heart to help
give.
in a little way,
And
do support us.
It's so easy to find Open Doors online. Just type that in, opendoors.org. You will find them. You can follow them on all the social media platforms. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, and we've got Instagram. And you can catch them very, very easy. They are so easy to find online. Support them, please, with prayer, with giving. If you need to contact Brian, you can get hold of Brian if you want to have him come to your church to speak, to talk.
Yeah, and get in touch with you, Ben, via
you can get in contact with me here in Elim Church in Swanley. There are many ways to get hold of Brian and his lovely wife. We thank them so much for joining with us this morning, this hour, this afternoon, wherever you're listening. And you're listening to myself, Ben Cooper of Elim Church in Swanley, with Brian sharing the work of Open Doors, and his wife sitting on the sofa just over there in the wings. We just had a cup of tea. So we thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you very, very, very soon. May God bless you, and thank you very much, Brian.
God bless you all.
Bye-bye.